Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Course in Miracles. Hi, Sue, Susan, everybody who's here in Zoom and everyone on Facebook. Good to see you. Well, it's a wonderful brand new day here in Malaysia. I don't know what the results are from we had an election here, so we don't know that yet. I think maybe some of you do, so you can type in the chat, let me know. I'm curious. But anyway, I'm sure you had mixed emotions and reactions to the outcome of the election. And that's a really good place to start, at least for us here in Malaysia. And for those of you in the West and elsewhere, when you have your knickers in a twist, I like that saying, your knickers in a twist, when you feel, upset by things in the world, stop and say to yourself, what Jesus would have you say today in our mind training curriculum. He would have you say or contemplate on, no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. No one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. And so, when we get ourselves all wrapped up in the world of illusion, and really it is an illusion, although we are here living in it, feels so real. Our senses report back to us that it is real and all of that. But in the end, we are the embodiments of pure love, spirit, everything good God. And we are meant to hook up to that and know that that spirit, the living spirit that moves and lives and has its being within us, will bring us peace, even though we're facing whatever it is that we're facing in this world. So think about your ego thoughts. Ego thoughts around the election outcome. Okay, ego thoughts around whatever it is that you're dealing with. Maybe, before we got online, you started to get these ego thoughts coming into your mind. And the first thing the ego would have you do with these ego thoughts is cover them up, not look at them. But the Holy Spirit and the Master would have you expose them, not to look at them with shame or guilt or fear or, anxiety, but just to be aware of those ego thoughts and expose them and have the Holy Spirit enter into the mind and shine light there. And she does that by correcting your thinking. She says, all these thoughts mean nothing. They're all meaningless, and they're floating around there in this, seeming atmosphere, and you're tapping into them. And they're not you. They're not real. Hi, Charles and everyone. Good to see you. So, don't cover those thoughts up. Expose them. That's what we're meant to do. And once you do that, you have awareness, and from that, you can make a new choice. So the other thing is, before I get into the lesson, now we're continuing on because we didn't finish our lesson last week, so we're going to continue on with lesson 131, and I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 16. But I came across a really great piece. It's a discourse that was given by Yogananda, and I thought, oh, this is so good. I want to share it with you because it's right in alignment with what we're talking about today. And so the great master Yogananda, he says, the seemingly solid body. I like that word, seemingly. And Jesus uses that word a lot throughout the Course in Miracles. The seemingly solid body is itself a non-material electromagnetic wave. Ooh, so we're just vibrational frequencies made up ultimately of underlying astral lifetrons, which in turn are made of cosmic consciousness. God, who is the generator, organizer, and destroyer, has ingeniously condensed his consciousness into lifetrons. Lifetrons into electrons and protons, and these subatomic particles into atoms, and atoms into molecules, and molecules and cells, all of which live by radiations from the cosmic source. So, even though this world is an illusion, there was something, that gives us, so we can see each other as solid. And this is what Yogananda is talking about. So, an actor on the movie screen, so all the people in your life, all dancing on the movie screen of your life, they seem so real, don't they? Those people that you react to, what your parents did to you or didn't do when you were growing up, all the things that you react to, they seem so real. But these people are nothing but radiation divided into light and shadow, issuing from the projection booth. Man should realize the ethereal nature of his being, made of light and consciousness, divine and indestructible, projected on the screen of time and space by the creative cosmic beam of God. In spirit, there is no past or future, only the everlasting present. It is in the relativistic consciousness of persons under the influence of Maya that eternity appears separated into past, present, and future. God always is, and his immortal omniscience is not compartmentalized by the dimensional delusions of time and space. He beholds everything as happening in the infinitude of his being now. Jesus expressed that consciousness by saying, "Where I am," instead of "where I will be after death of my mortal body." Instead, then he went on to say, "Before Abraham was, I am." And that's from John 8. Delusion is so strong that it is pretty hard to believe it is delusion when you have needs and no money to meet them, isn't it? It is difficult to believe that this world is Maya when you are sick and suffering. I mean, when we're broke, when we're sick, when we're suffering, when we're dealing with an election result that we don't like, all of this, it feels so real. We get right into it. We're attached to everything. And the master is saying it's really difficult to believe that this world is Maya when you can feel it viscerally. But when you constantly keep your mind in God, and God is not outside of yourself, you are that light that God is. So when you keep your mind on the light, on the spirit that you are, you will realize that this world is his dream. Through the power of Maya, cosmic illusion, the Creator has caused the manifestations of matter to appear so distinct and specific that to the human mind they seem unrelated in any way to spirit. The phenomenal world operates under Maya, the law of duality or oppositional states. It is thus an unreal world that veils the truth of the divine oneness and unchangeableness. Man, in his mortal aspect, dreams of dualities and contrasts, life and death, health and disease, happiness and sorrow. But when he awakens in soul consciousness, all dualities disappear, and he knows himself as the eternal and blissful spirit. That is so profound. And Jesus says in the Course in Miracles from the text, chapter 13, he says, "You dwell not here, but in eternity. You travel, but in dreams, while safe at home." So this whole, Yogananda in this discourse, Jesus sums it all up in these two sentences. That this is an illusion, it's Maya, you're delusional, and then you get wrapped up in the dualities, that you find yourself in, you make them real. And remember, Jesus tells us again throughout the course, the ego is a no thing. It is not real. You made it by believing in it. And you can dispel it by withdrawing your belief from it. And that's really powerful. So everything we are experiencing in our life is the result of what we value. Do you value the ego's thought system, or do you value spirit, the thought system of spirit? And the world you see will show you what you value. The world that you're attached to will show you what you value. So, the ultimate choice that each of us has to make is between truth and illusion, between everything and nothing. That's it. And you want to be sure that you take the hand of the one that can lead you to truth, which is the Holy Spirit within your right mind in God. She, or I like to call her she, because when we go to Egypt, we refer to the Spirit, the Mother, Isis, as the Holy Spirit. So she can lead us. She's the bridge that leads us home to remember that we are always in eternity, and we're dreaming a dream while safe at home. So, why sweat the small stuff? Like, who cares about the election in terms of, don't get yourself wrapped up in whatever expectations you had of who should win and who blah, blah, blah. Because no matter who we vote for, no matter who we go for in this world of illusion, it's all an illusion in the end. I mean, we do our best and we try our best, but the ultimate purpose of our life is to choose truth. Today I seek truth. I reach for truth, and the truth is, I am what came out of the mind of God. So I am whole, perfect, and complete, and so are all my brothers and sisters. And so I'm going to see and hold truth for everybody else, that this world we can, make heaven come to earth, so to speak. So anyway, isn't that great? So maybe what I'll do is I'll send that to Jamie, and we'll just post that right up. How about that? Sure. And then you can have a copy of it, because it's really profound. Okay, where do we want to go with this? Okay, let's go right into the lesson and finish it off so that we can get on to chapter 16. Hi, Yvette. Good to see you. Love to you too. All right, so I'm going to start at, let's see. Okay, do you have your lesson open here? It's 10:1. It's 10:1. Leave foolish thoughts like these behind today and turn your mind to true ideas instead. Okay, wait a minute. Let me go up one here to 9:3-4. He thus denies himself and contradicts what has no opposite. So when you deny yourself, you are contradicting what has no opposite. What has no opposite? Truth. What has no opposite? Love. What has no opposite? God. God and love, all encompassing everything. And in that, there can be absolutely no opposites. Only the world of Maya, the delusional world that you find yourself in, your delusional mind in an illusionary world, now you're going to see opposites. But when you deny yourself, your whole perfect and complete and innocent self, then you contradict what has no opposites. You think you made a hell opposing heaven, and believes that you abide in what does not exist. So you think you made hell, you've chosen hell instead of heaven, and you think you abide there. While heaven is the place that you cannot find. Leave foolish thoughts like these behind today. Let it all go. Drop it. None of it is real. Drop it. And turn your mind to true ideas instead. You know what foolish thoughts are? Any thought that you have that makes this world real. That's a foolish thought. Can you think of some? Right? Silly, silly thoughts, foolish thoughts. She's like that, he's like that. This truth is what is. Blah, blah, blah. You're trying to make the world real because you're afraid of love. Okay. True ideas are we are all one. Love is real. Kindness is beauty. Beauty is of God. These are true and wonderful thoughts and ideas. And those thoughts lead us away from this insane world. So when we practice, we become aware of our ego thoughts. And then we say, no, today I'm going to think true thoughts. And they begin with only love is real. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. I am going to choose real thoughts. Health is real. Sickness is a defense against truth. Abundance is real. Lack is an attack against truth. Freedom is real. Slavery is an attack against truth. You see that? And we want to think of only true ideas today, because true ideas, wonderful truth, is an expression of forgiveness. That's what it is. When you say only love is real, what you're actually saying is, I forgive the dream world. I'm not going to make that world real. I'm going to play the game and show up and do whatever I do, but I know it's not real. And so I'm going to think thoughts that lead me away from that. And those are expressions of forgiveness. No one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. And it is truth we seek to reach today. And from text 8, chapter 8, Jesus says, you cannot learn simultaneously from two teachers who are in total disagreement about everything. The spirit is everything, and it's a thought system of perfect peace. And the ego is nothing, and it's a thought system of separation and guilt. And the ego made the world as an attack on God. Their joint curriculum presents an impossible learning task. They are teaching you entirely different things in entirely different ways. The Spirit would say there's only one. We are all connected in the Christ mind. And the ego would say, hey, you're special. You need to maintain your individual self, the made up self. You need to maintain that because that's real. And that's the suffering right there. So they're teaching you entirely different things, which might be possible, except that both are teaching you about yourself. Your reality is unaffected by both. But if you listen to both, your mind will be split about what your reality is. Because in truth, you are pure love light. There is no split in the mind. There is no this or that. There's just this oneness. It's non-dualistic. We will devote 10 minutes to this goal 3 times today. And we will ask to see the rising of the real world, to replace the foolish images that we hold dear with true ideas arising in the place of thoughts that have no meaning, no effect, and neither source nor substance in the truth. This we acknowledge as we start upon our practice periods, and it begins with this. I ask to see a different world and think a different kind of thought from those I made. You make up thoughts that are based on separation and guilt, fear-based thoughts. And we're asking the Spirit today, by exposing our thoughts, our ego thoughts. I'm going to expose them. I'm just going to say, hey, Holy Spirit, I need help. because I'm choosing to think ego thoughts. So, you know, one that is, think about, I always like to use health because that's such a big one. So when you're sick, the first thing we do is start talking about the sickness, and we really get attached to the sickness, and we start analyzing it and how we got it and how long it's going to last, and oh my God, maybe I'm going to be like this forever, and we get wrapped up in it. So that in itself is entertaining ego thoughts. The ego made sickness. God is health. The ego made sickness. And so the next time you find yourself in some, discomfort, some pain or whatever it is, see if you can take your mind off of it. Acknowledge that it's there, because it's an ego thought that manifested itself in your body. And say to yourself, I must be thinking unforgiving thoughts that I would have this manifest in my body. And then say to the Holy Spirit, I give you these thoughts, all of these thoughts. And instead of going down deep into the pain and into what you're feeling, see if you can keep your mind in God. See if you can keep your mind in love. That's where the miracle is, right? And it's a big one because, when you're sick and you have a lot of pain, there's a fear that comes in. And you go into the pain and go into the suffering, and you start to think that, oh, maybe I'm dying, and everything gets exposed. I mean, those are all ego thoughts, but if you give them to the Spirit, you can get to the root of the problem. And the root of the problem is, I'm separate from God. I'm separate from God, and I'm entertaining ego thoughts. Even, my body's having a problem and I'm entertaining ego thoughts. How about when you don't have money? You start to panic about not having money. But in that moment, there's nothing you can do about it anyway. And so instead of mulling it over in your mind about how broke you are and how little you have in the bank and how this and how, oh my God, and those are ego thoughts. Those are not forgiveness thoughts. Give them to the Spirit and have the Holy Spirit correct your thinking, which she'll do. And she'll say, the reason you're suffering is because you're identified as a body. You think that you are the body, therefore you're limited. And because your belief system is that, you're going to, have things in the world of form prove that you're broke, prove that you're limited. Right? So it's really good when, it's not good, but you get what I'm saying, right? When you don't feel well, or if you have a lack of money, or you feel afraid of your future, say to yourself, oh, those are ego thoughts. Those are not God's thoughts. Those are not forgiveness thoughts. Those are ego thoughts, but I'm aware that they're there. See, we have to practice being aware of the ego thoughts in our mind. And then you give them up. You turn them over. You say to the Spirit, here, I don't want these. I want to think forgiveness thoughts. Dear God, you created me in the image and likeness of abundance, and I am open to receive. That's very different than saying, oh my God, I don't know if I'm going to have enough money in the bank to pay my rent. Which one, right? There's only, you got to choose between everything God or nothing ego. And by your choice, you're getting exactly what you're thinking, what you're saying, what you're being. You're getting exactly that. So today I seek to see a different world and think a different kind of thought from those I made. The I that you think you are is a separate self. That's the made up self, and you're telling a story. You're telling a story from a made up self. And that story is just silly. It's a foolish story. The world I seek, I did not make alone. The thoughts I want to think are not my own. Wow. Think about that for a minute. Let me go back to that. I just got something there. The world I seek, I did not make alone. So you either make the world you see with the Holy Spirit, or you make the world with the ego. You didn't make it alone. The thoughts I think, the thoughts I want to think, are not my own. Okay. We can't think, okay, as I look at this, what comes up for me is that we cannot ask to see a different world and think a different kind of thought unless we are aware of our ego thoughts, right? Because unless you're aware of what's in your head, well, you're just going to think that's the way it is. That's why it is so essential to ask the Spirit for help and do not cover those thoughts up. You've got to ask for help. Okay? Or to be afraid or to feel guilty because you're thinking those thoughts. The ego is so tricky, right? The minute you have an attack thought, the ego will say, well, see, you're not so holy after all because you're thinking like that. So it finds a way to make you wrong and bad regardless. Remember that the real world is not a place, okay? It is a system of thought that you hold in your right mind in God. That's what it is. It's not a place. It's a system of thought that you hold in your right mind. There is another maker of the world, the simultaneous creator of the I got marbles in my mouth. Let me start again. There is another maker of the world, and maker here is with a capital M. And I took this from chapter 25 in the text. The simultaneous corrector of the mad belief that anything could be established and maintained without some link that kept it still within the laws of God. Corrected error is the error's end. And the error is a mistaken identity. That is what the error is. You think that you are something other than what God created. You think you're a separate self in a body, identified as a body. And when that is corrected, when that thought is corrected, that is the end of error. And thus has God protected his Son even in error. And the great protector is the Holy Spirit in your right mind in God. The minute in that tiny mad idea, when you began to think a loveless thought, the Holy Spirit went with you. She's with you always. The divine mother light, the Shekinah, the light is there in your right mind. And she is the bridge to the real world. And so even when you are thinking with a mistaken identity that you are something other than what God created, the Holy Spirit is with you. Even in that error, she's there. There is another purpose in the world that error made, because it has another maker who can reconcile its goal with his creator's purpose. Everyone here in this world has entered darkness. So when we choose to think without love, bam, you are in the dark. When you choose to think without love, light, peace, joy, when you think attack thoughts, you enter the world of darkness. Yet no one has entered it alone. Nor need he stay more than an instant. Remember the holy instant when you decide, get me out of here, beam me up, I want out. The Holy Spirit, even though you entered into the world of darkness, the Holy Spirit is in your pocket. She went with you. For she has come with heaven's help within you, ready to lead you out of darkness into light at any time. God is great all the time. God is great. But where are you? You know, that's what I mean. We get so wrapped up in the body, wrapped up in the story, wrapped up in the pain, wrapped up in the scarcity and lack, that you forget that there is a wonderful everything God, voice for God that's there with you the whole time, that can lead you out of darkness into light. The time she chooses can be any time, for help is there, awaiting but your choice. Whoa! So you are the decision maker. You get to decide. You have to choose. I'm done with this. I want you to think about that the next time, as I said, that you find yourself in a story that you made up, the story of lack, the story of sickness, the story of whatever. Say to yourself, the Holy Spirit, the guidance, the answer is in my right mind, right here, right now, but it's for me to choose it. It's for me to choose it. And the hardest thing is to be nice when you don't feel well, is to be nice when you don't have any money, is to think and speak and show up your whole way of being, embodying what God is, regardless of what's going on in the body, regardless of how much money you have in the bank, regardless of anything. But yet, if we can hold on to truth, reach for the truth, even though not by covering up those ego thoughts, but by exposing them. You have not suppressed anything. You have not pushed anything down. You've said, I feel like garbage today. And I feel that, but I am asking the Holy Spirit, I know you are here in my right mind right now, and I am choosing something else. Right? And that's why we need mind training. That's why we have to do the work that's required. You have to reach for truth. It doesn't come to you and say, hey, it's there, but you have to decide, right? For several minutes, watch your mind and see. Although your eyes are closed, the senseless world you think is real. Because listen, you can have your eyes closed and still see the world that you think you live in when your eyes are closed, right? You sit there and you tell a story with your eyes closed. I'm broke, I'm sick, oh my God, life sucks, oh, I hate the outcome of the election, oh geez, this is bad, this is wrong, and your eyes are closed. So it doesn't matter, open or closed, you're still insane. Okay, so, all right, because remember, the world is nothing more than the projected guilt that we're holding in our mind. That's all it is. And the guilt is a result of believing that you've left God. That's why you can still be aware of it with your eyes closed. All right. Review the thoughts as well which are compatible with such a world and which you think are true. Okay. So review, look at everything and think about the thoughts that you're holding in terms of your relationships, in terms of money, in terms of health. Okay, in terms of the political situation in your country. Just think about everything and look at those ego thoughts. Then let them go and sink below them to the holy place where they can enter not. So you've got all these thoughts going on, the world sucks. Oh my God, what if there's another pandemic? Oh my God, what if they ask for this? And what if that? What if we can't travel? What if all these thoughts, all ego thoughts, they're all ego thoughts. The Master's asking us to sink below these ego thoughts and let them go. And enter into that holy place. Remember, I am the open door that no man can shut, the inner sanctum of the heart. Go to that holy place where nothing can enter. There is a door beneath them in your mind, which you could not completely lock to hide what lies beyond. Isn't that beautiful? The whole time, that this Maya is going on in your mind. Beneath that, there is a door, a beautiful door. On the other side of that is what's really true. The door leads to the right mind, says the Master, which forgiveness opens as the key to happiness. I forgive these thoughts. I'm going to stop thinking. I'm going to expose these ego thoughts, and I'm going to think good thoughts. So when I feel sick, I'm going to claim health, no matter what is happening in my body. When I don't have enough money, or I feel like I'm not going to be okay in the area of security, I'm going to say, God is my source and my supply, and all is well. And no matter what is happening, I'm still going to claim truth. This is a practice. Can you see that? Can you find that in yourself where you are so tempted to entertain ego thoughts instead of true thoughts? It is the door we pass through with Jesus' help, opening up when we are able, with Jesus beside us, to look at the ego's world. In other words, you don't have to think, if you're Buddhist or you're, Hindu or whatever, think of the form. Maybe it's just a being of light that's there with you. You can imagine that this being of light is there with you and beside you as you look at the ego's world, both its thoughts and their projection into form, because everything starts with a thought and then you see it. And when you value the ego's thought system, those thoughts get projected into the world of phenomena, and what you're going to see out here is the world that you value. And it will be a world of sickness, death, hatred, anger, hostility, all of it. You're going to see that. These foolish thoughts of specialness have used layers of guilt. And guys, the layers of guilt are all your, let's put it on a timeline. Think of all your past lives, okay? You've done it all. You've killed, you've raped, you've stolen, you've cheated, you've lied. You've done absolutely everything. You and I and everyone on this planet has layers and layers of guilt and hate. And that has covered the holy place within us. That holy place is there, but you have layers of unconscious guilt. And that is why it is imperative, it is essential to mind training, that when you are reacting to an ailment in the body, or the lack of money in your bank account, or you're mad at the political situation, or you're mad at the world, or whatever it is, and you feel the triggers in your mind and you start thinking ego thoughts about what's going on, stop and say, I have just uncovered another layer of unconscious guilt. That's what the world is for. The world is a classroom. It's meant to reflect your shadow. That's it. It's meant to reflect your shadow. So you can then say, this brother is in my space because this brother is in my consciousness. It's unconscious guilt. Layers of unconscious guilt. Okay, so we want these things in our space, so to speak, because we want to recognize the ego thoughts in the mind that we can turn into true thoughts. In other words, the brother shows up and he acts out an unconscious guilt in our mind that we have projected. And instead of attacking our brother in our heart, we're grateful for the information. We ask the Holy Spirit to help us see this differently and to correct our mistaken identity, so that we now know that we are everything that God is, and I can forgive my brother, and I can forgive myself. Seek for that door and find it, the Master says. But before you try to open it, remind yourself, no one can fail who seeks to reach the truth. And it is this request that we are making today. It's so beautiful. From the workbook, it's lesson 93. The Master says, you think that you are destroyed, but you are saved. You think you're destroyed, but you are saved. Because you've never left the mind of God. You are the embodiment of health. You are the embodiment of abundance. You are the embodiment of peace and joy and happiness and everything that God is. You are not destroyed. You are not. You are saved. Yet God can bring you there. God can bring you to that place. The love that is beyond the ego's, cloud of fear. If you are willing to follow the Holy Spirit through your seeming terror. There's that word, seeming. It's not real, but because you made the ego by believing in it, you're afraid. but it is not real. Trusting the Spirit not to abandon you and leave you there, for it is not her purpose to frighten you, but only yours. You are severely tempted to abandon the Spirit at the outside ring of fear, but she would lead you safely through and far beyond. So you can't do this alone. You know, in the 12-step program, we are told that you have to turn toward a power greater than you, that you are not separate from, but a part of. The ego would have you believe that you are destroyed, that you are a no good nothing. So you do need the help of a higher power. Become aware that you have a guide within you that can lead you from darkness to light. You do have a guide. Nothing but this has any meaning now. No other goal is valued. No other goal is valued now nor sought. Nothing before this door you really want. And only what lies past it do you seek. Wow. You know what happens when self-hatred, when you have guilt, unconscious guilt, you really hate yourself. That's the source of self-hatred, is unconscious guilt. And the unconscious guilt comes from the belief that you're separate from God. Okay, but let's put it on a timeline and just pretend that all of it is real. And of course, we've experienced it all. So we make it practical, right? So let's say in that lifetime you killed, and in that lifetime you stole, and in that lifetime you lied your way through life, and blah, 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 blah. All of that got buried. It's unconscious. And now the ego, it's in full force, and you really hate yourself. You hate yourself, but you don't know that you hate yourself. Okay. So when somebody shows up in front of you that rocks your world, you take it personally, you're triggered by that person. All they're showing you is your self-hatred. You have projected your unconscious guilt, your self-hatred onto them, and they are showing you that you are full of self-hatred. And so what you're going to do with that self-hatred is, if you don't get rid of it, you're going to make yourself sick. And if you don't make yourself sick, you're going to make others sick. You're going to make them out to be the worst whatevers in the entire universe. Until we get rid of all the unconscious guilt and the self-hatred in our mind, we're going to be sick, we're going to be broke, we're going to be sad, we're going to be depressed, we're going to be all the things that God is not. God is not depressed, God is not sick, God is not broke. We're going to be the opposite, because this is the world of duality. And it's all because you value a thought system that says you get to be a separate self. You get to be a made-up self and live in your own made-up world and keep everybody else away from you that you don't like. And that's okay, because that's life. That's just how it works. There's good people and bad people. I'm going to see differences in this world of separation and guilt. I'm going to see winners and losers in this world of separation and guilt. And that's just life. No, that's death. That is death. So the master says, put out your hand and see how easily the door swings open with your one intent to go beyond it. So every day we have to set our intention. Today I set my intention. People will say, well, I intended to do that. No, you didn't, because if you intended and you set your intention, it would happen. Like, that's such a cheap word that would get thrown around. I really intended to do that. No, you didn't. No, you did not. Intention means I will follow through with what I say, because I am consciously intending to have a different result than what I had yesterday. So I'm not just going to say, well, I intended to pray. I intended to ask the Holy Spirit, but then, someone knocked at my door. Again, the ego is so good, so clever. It finds scapegoats, points the finger. I didn't do this, poor me. It wasn't my fault. I intended to sit down and expose my ego thoughts. I intended to do that, but I got a message. And I had to answer that text. Like now. So we're really clever at resisting love. Well, I don't think that's so clever, do you? Because in the end, the result is not good. So that's kind of dumb. That's kind of insane. Seek thee first the kingdom of heaven, and all things shall be added unto you. All right. Then the master says, sin is a block, set like a heavy gate, locked and without a key, across the road to peace. No one who looks on it without the help of reason would try to pass it. The body's eyes behold it as solid granite, so thick it would be madness to attempt to pass it. Yet reason sees through it easily because it is an error. The only reason that you think you can't go through that is because you are identified as a body. You're identified as an ego. You're operating from a made-up self that doesn't even exist. That's why it seems impossible. The form it takes cannot conceal its emptiness from reason's eyes. The master says, although angels light the way so that all darkness vanishes, and you are standing in a light so bright and clear that you can understand all things you see. Wow, because once a light is on, you can see truth. And you can see the untruths that you were so attached to, the unreal thoughts. Once the light is on, you can see, whoops, I wasn't thinking, I was hallucinating. Okay. A tiny moment of surprise, perhaps, will make you pause before you realize the world you see before you in the light reflects the truth you knew and did not quite forget in wandering away in dreams. And that's where Jesus says, you dwell not here, but in eternity. You travel but in dreams while safe at home. You cannot fail today. I just love that. You cannot fail. There walks with you the Spirit, and that's the Holy Spirit, the Mother, the divine Shekinah love light. Heaven sent you that you might approach this door someday. And through his aid, slip effortlessly past it to the light. Today that day has come. Today God keeps his ancient promise to his Holy Son, as does his Son remember his to him. And that is, you said yes. The you that you are said yes. I will be a demonstration. I will demonstrate in the world of phenomena what it looks like to be one with my Father. I said yes. I will have my body be a vessel by which the Spirit lives, moves, and has its being. I will allow my eyes to be used by my Father, Mother, God to see the glory in the world of phenomena. I will have the Spirit use my words to inspire. It's different. It's different. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice to just love all and serve all? Wouldn't that be nice? With no judgments. Oh, I'm not doing that. That's not my job. How about to show up in every moment? Just being what God said you are. You are my beloved, in whom I am well pleased. How about to show up every day in that beingness? Your state of being is that. Nothing would matter. You would be open and available to what is ever presenting, to whatever is presenting in that moment. And you would be guided, and you would be knowing, and you would be acknowledging, and you would be smiling, and you would be so in touch with everybody around you because you are so in touch with the God within you. And that's how we're meant to live. How beautiful is that? Instead of, well, me over here, I over here, in my world over here, in my space over here. What? Who's talking? Who's talking? It's so insane. I just want to show up and say, God, use me. Use me in this moment and in every moment. Just use me. I'm available to you. Use my hands, use my eyes. Just use me. Use my life. Oh, you want me to clean the toilet? All right. Oh, you want me to clear the table? Okay, that's good. Oh, you want me to give a speech? Okay, can. You want me to sing a song? Yep, I can. Why? Because you live and move and have your being within me. Wow. Wouldn't that be freedom? I think that would be freedom. So ask yourself, how am I showing up? How am I showing up in my life? That's a good question. How am I showing up in my life? People will know you by your fruits. If your fruits are smiling and kind and loving, gracious, acknowledging, well, people want to be around you because you feel so good. But if your fruits are shriveled because you're having a bad day and the whole world should back off because you over there in your story, can you hear yourself? And yet the whole time underneath all that is the love and the beauty and the light and the Holy Spirit there the whole time. And you think that you're destroyed, but you are saved. You're saved. So, so beautiful. Okay. In his creation did his Father say, you are beloved of me, and I of you forever. Be you perfect as myself, for you can never be apart from me. His Son remembers not that he replied, I will. Oh, yes, I will. You forgot? You already replied, I will. Though in that promise he was born. That's from chapter 28. And this is the promise of we have the secret vows held in place, the secret vows of separation. But you already told God, yes, I will. I will. Yes, I will be a vessel by which you can live and move and have your being within. It's just so beautiful. Our promise to God was, I will. I will. This is a day of gladness, for we come to the appointed time and place where you will find the goal of all your searching here and all the seeking of the world, which end together as you pass beyond the door. Remember often that today should be a time of special gladness, and refrain from dismal thoughts. Oh, that's going to be your practice tomorrow. All our Canadian friends, tomorrow when you get up, no more dismal thoughts. Jesus says, this is a time of special gladness. And so refrain from dismal thoughts and meaningless laments. We do that. We're going to stop that. Be aware of your dismal thoughts. Be aware of your heavy breath, your sighs. Be aware of all of that. Healing occurs as a patient begins to hear the dirge he sings and questions its validity. That's when healing begins. When you go, now, is this thought serving me? Does this thought raise my vibration? No, it doesn't, because it's a stinking thinking thought that's coming from the ego. So it's an unreal thought, and I'm done with it. I am so done with this thought, right? That's when healing begins. Until you hear that voice, you cannot understand that it is you who sings it to yourself. You're doing it all to you. Hello? By your thoughts, you're making up the world. By what you say, you're making up your reality. And you didn't create it, you made it up because it's not real. Meaning that the ego's thought system is a thought system in total opposition to God. So anything that's opposite of God doesn't exist. It's not real. However, you think it's real. And because you believe that it's real, it becomes real to you. And now you have attachments and sadness and anger and hatred and on and on and on. So to question it then must become your choice. You have to question your thoughts. If you don't feel well, stop and say to yourself, oh, I wonder what attack thoughts I was holding in my mind that I could be taking this self-hatred out on my body. That's what we do. I made myself sick because I've been thinking sick thoughts. What are they? Let's go back to Egypt. Okay, let's think about Egypt. By the way, guys, next year, our Egypt tour, it's a mystery school. It's a teaching 14 days, 15 days. And it's a tough, right? Physically, emotionally, mentally. Yeah. So it's from October 8th to the 22nd that we'll be heading back to our beautiful Egypt. So just go in your mind, go back to Egypt and think about who you were being in Egypt. Like for those of you that may have experienced some kind of an illness while you were in Egypt or some kind of a body discomfort, you can be sure your thoughts were things like, it's so hot. I'm so tired. Oh, is this ever going to end? We did this last year. Oh, I don't know if I like this. These kind of thoughts are ego thoughts. They are attack thoughts. They are thoughts of self-hatred that have to go somewhere. And if you project them out, you make someone else sick or you make them feel bad. But the whole time you're reinforcing whatever it is you say or whatever it is you feel on yourself. So then the body gets sick, you get diarrhea or you throw up or whatever you do, complain. Seriously? That is how we make the world we're in, by our thoughts. So because we had experiences in Egypt, think about that for yourself. And again, don't think of those thoughts with guilt and self-hatred, because the ego would want you to feel, you ding-a-ling, you went all the way there and then you had this happen and that happen, you're such a loser, and the ego just wants to make you feel like you're no good. But look at this experience in Egypt with the Spirit, with the Holy Spirit, and say, okay, show me. I am willing to look at how I made this in my life, how I made this. Okay? And then you can find it. You can always find it. And then you learn to laugh at it. You forgive it. You say, wow, I'm so powerful. By my thoughts, I made myself get diarrhea. Right? But the ego would say, oh, no, it was that food you ate. Or, oh, no, it's because it's hot. That's why. No. Everything that happens, you called it forth by how you think. And that's why we have to train the mind, because we don't believe that yet. We still want to blame something external for the results we find ourselves in. But everything that happens to you came from your thoughts. I know. And it becomes really cute and funny, and I really mean that, when you wake up and go, wow, I created this. I made this happen in my life because this is what I was thinking and this is what I was believing. And wow, I can choose something else now. And I can choose to look at this with the Holy Spirit and have her reinterpret this craziness in my mind, and ask her to help me correct the error, which is, I think I'm a body. I'm identified with a story called It's Hot. I'm identified with a story called I've seen this before. And the beautiful thing is, when you are serving the divine, You know that where you are is exactly where you're supposed to be, and that's where the divine wants to shine its light through you, right there. Right there. And you're saying, I can't take it. It's so hot. It's so hot. I'm so tired. I'm bored. I'm fed up. And the divine's going, but you said yes. You said I will. And this is where I want to shine my light, right here. Right here. Can you find that? It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's really kind of funny in a funny way. Okay. All right. So until you hear this voice, you can't understand that. Okay? That you are singing it to yourself. Jesus is so cool. Salvation's time has come. Today is set by heaven itself to be a time of grace. Listen, you're always in grace. You're swimming in grace. You are doing the breaststroke through a field of grace. Grace is not just for them and not for you. Grace is all about us, but we're somewhere else. But today, this is a time where we are acknowledging that I live and move and have my being in a field of grace, and it's for me and for the world. Everybody is surrounded by grace. If you forget this happy fact, remind yourself with this. Today I seek and find all that I want. So the question again is, what do you want? What do you want? You can't have both. You want love or you don't. You want health or you don't. You want abundance or you don't. You want freedom or you don't. You can't choose something else. There's nothing else to choose between, because the thing you think you're choosing between is an illusion. So I desire health. There is nothing else. And if I'm not desiring health and thinking health thoughts, it's because I want something else, because I see value in it. I see value in sickness because it gets me attention. I see value in sickness because it says, see God, I'm sick, so you don't exist. I see value in lack. See God, if you were abundant God like they say you are, then I wouldn't be broke. Because the whole name of the game in the ego's domain is to make sure that you never wake up, take the hand of the Holy Spirit, and be led back to truth. I am health, so be it. I am abundance, so be it. I am everything that God is, so be it. I am that, I am, so be it. And if my body's going through the sniffles, so what, who cares? And my focus is on God. And if I don't have enough money in the bank today, there's enough for everyone. There's abundance everywhere. And I'm choosing to get back into an abundant field of grace. And this too shall pass. Wow. Can you see why you need mind training? I need mind training. We all need mind training. So this is so beautiful because we wake up and we realize that sin doesn't exist. Guilt doesn't exist. Nothing outside of God exists because God is, and you are the beloved of God. And so you are all-encompassing love in the same way that God is, and everything else that you made up doesn't exist. It becomes real for you because it's what you want. You see value in it. And until you stop seeing value in sickness and lack and poverty and all this, your world won't change. It's all about changing your mind about who you say you are. So it's pretty awesome. Okay. All right. So next week we'll go on to lesson 132, but let's take a look at some verses from our The Bridge to the Real World. The Bridge to the Real World. And that's chapter 16. Now, if you choose to go on toward the ego's thought system, well, think, those bridges, they're made of ropes. Think of like two mountains. And then there's that swinging bridge. Is that what they're called? Rope bridges. Okay, those rope bridges. When you choose to follow the ego's thought system, when you choose to think without love, it's like you got on one of those rope bridges and you're going across and you're following the ego to the other side, and you make it to the other side, to the unreal world, and then the ego takes that bridge and throws it away, and now there's no going back. That's what the ego would have you believe. There's no going back. There's no bridge to God. There's nothing. There's just me, the world that we make together, and we will make God in your own image. And that's the world that you live in. So, because the ego's thought system is a rope bridge of no return. That's it. Once you bite the bait and you get into the ego's domain, wow. All right. And remember, the ego's worst fear is that you're going to wake up and take the hand of the Holy Spirit and be led back into the kingdom of heaven. The search for the special relationship. Now, we're getting to the end. This chapter's all been focused on the special relationship. So the Master's saying that when you search for that special person outside of yourself or that special thing, but let's talk people, okay? It is a sign that you equate yourself with an ego and not with God. It's like suddenly that person is going to fulfill you. That person is going to make your dreams come true. That person is going to make you feel beautiful and handsome. That person is going to fulfill whatever it is you think that you lack. Oh dear, you are destined for unhappiness. For the special relationship has value only to the ego. Yep. To the ego, unless the relationship has special value, it has no meaning. The ego's not interested in holy relationships. No. It wants, see, when you leave heaven, when you choose to think without love, now you're full of guilt and self-hatred and you feel incomplete. So you need to find someone to complete you. You need to find somebody to make you feel what you believe you lack. Oh my God. And it usually starts with someone looking really pretty. If you're a man, you get hooked up because they're really pretty, or that guy's really handsome, or he has a lot of money, and you're going for it. You're going for it. To the ego, unless a relationship has special value, it has no meaning, for it perceives all love as special. Okay? So love is based on you complete me. It's a special relationship. Yet this cannot be natural. Oh my God, because you're always going to feel like you're going to mess up and that person's not going to like you. So you're always on your best behavior to get that love. You don't want to be rejected. You want to make sure that they accept you, or you want to maintain control in that relationship. For it is unlike the relationship of God and his Son, and all relationships that are unlike this one must be unnatural. For God created love as he would have it be and gave it as it is. It's all-encompassing, unconditional love and acceptance. Love has no meaning except as its creator defined it by his will. It is impossible to define it otherwise and understand it. Love is freedom. Love is freedom. And I hear this, all the time. Well, I don't know if my wife would want me to do that. What? I don't know if my husband would want me to do that. I've got to, ask him if it's okay for me to do that. Things like that. Like what? Not that you should just say, well, bye, see you. I mean, the fact that you've decided to get married or be in partnership is about taking the other person into consideration. But are you going to compromise what the Spirit is guiding you to do because your wife or your husband said no, or we can't afford it, or whatever else, and blah, blah, blah? Love is freedom. To look for it by placing yourself in bondage. In other words, you complete me. And if I leave you or separate from you to go here for a while, oh no, you might not love me anymore. That's slavery and that's bondage. And that's to separate yourself from love. For the love of God no longer seeks for union in separation, nor for freedom in bondage. As you release, so will you be released. Forget this not, or love will be unable to find you and comfort you. In other words, you're going to keep that person responsible for making you feel loved. It's like so many people get into a relationship and the other people in their life go out the window. There's no more friends. There's no more anything. It's like, I have you now, so I've replaced God with you. And now you're supposed to do for me what God is doing for me that I'm not aware of. I'm making you responsible now for my happiness, for my financial well-being, for my health. I'm making you responsible for everything. There is a way in which the Holy Spirit asks your help if you would have her help. The Holy Instant is her most helpful aid in protecting you from the attraction of guilt. See, when you have guilt in the mind, in the unconscious mind, when you believe that you've left God and now you're guilty and you got to get rid of that guilt, you throw it out onto the world, and then you have a person show up that is like vibrating on the same frequency as you. It's either the flip side of the coin of what you lack or vice versa. And that's the real lure in a special relationship. It's the guilt that you're holding in your mind that you've projected. And now that person is showing up reflecting that guilt, and it looks attractive in a sick kind of way. But it's how the game is played. You don't recognize that you do not recognize that this is its real appeal. For the ego has taught you that freedom lies in it. Oh, if I marry this guy, he's just going to, he's got all this money. He's going to take me away from all this pain and suffering in my family. And I'm going to live like the fairy tale life. Okay? So the ego has taught you that that's where your freedom lies. And you're like Rapunzel now in the castle, right? Yet the closer you look at the special relationship, the more apparent it becomes that it must foster guilt and therefore must imprison. And now you have this, power plays going on with the partners. It's like one trying to control the other one trying to control, and it's back and forth and back and forth. Asking the Holy Spirit for help reflects our willingness to look at the ego without judgment. In the Holy Instant, our healed eyes do not stop at guilt's expression, which is the form. Okay, we have to go directly beyond the darkness of the wrong-minded thought system to the resplendent light of the great rays. And Jesus talks about these great rays later on in this chapter. The master then says the special relationship is totally meaningless without a body. So if you're not identified with the body, do you think you're going to be chasing after somebody to complete you? No. Because you're already whole, perfect, and complete, and you know that. So you're not grasping at someone to complete you. But when you're identified with the body, you will be. If you value it, the body, you must also value the body, and what you value, you will keep. So I'm all wrapped up in my body, and I've made everything that I believe about myself and you real. And so now I'm in the ego's domain, and the special relationship then is a device for limiting yourself to a body and for limiting your perception of others to their body. The great rays. I always have that vision of, that picture we see of Jesus with the rays shining from his heart. Okay, so the great rays would establish the total lack of value in the special relationship. So when you're standing and you just know that you are the love and light of God and you are whole and perfect and complete and no one outside of you can complete you in any way because you're already that, you're identified with the great rays shining in your heart. When you, let's see, the great rays would establish the total lack of value of the special relationship if they were seen, okay? For in seeing them, the body would disappear because its value would be lost. That's where Jesus says when minds are joined, bodies are not, minds are joined in the oneness of the Christ light. And so your whole investment in seeing it would be withdrawn from it. You see the world you value. On this side of the bridge, you see the world of separate bodies. That's the ego's world. And there's a bridge there. Seeking to join each other in separate unions and to become one by losing. When two individuals seek to become one, they are trying to decrease their magnitude. And it's, it's like, it's as subtle as when you write a letter to someone. Let's say that Jamie and I came to visit Sue, and I'm writing a letter to Sue, and Jamie doesn't know I'm writing the letter, and I'm thanking her for her, letting us stay there for a couple months or whatever it is, and how wonderful it was, blah, 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 blah. And then I say, and we are so happy, and we are so grateful, and we are so this. Jamie doesn't know anything about the we, and I'm coming from we. Love, Deanna and Jamie. What? You have just decreased your magnitude. You've just decreased your magnitude. I know, Susan, you got to think about that one. Right? Because why would you do that? Why can't you just write, thank you so much, from your place? Because, in other words, you're a people pleaser, because now you're trying to bring Jamie into the scenario. She doesn't know anything about it, but just because you want people to like Jamie in the same way that you like Jamie, you're going to write the letter on behalf of both of you, because you're a people pleaser and a fixer and a controller. Can you see that? It's subtle. Do you think Jesus would sign a letter? Love Jesus and my mother Mary. No. Maybe Mother Mary didn't want to write a letter. Maybe Jamie didn't want to write a letter. But maybe because I think she should have, I'll just add her to mine. Like, it's subtle, but that's what decreases your magnitude. Okay. When you say there's something missing in you, you just say it by showing up as, a victim. That would be a way. Because if I'm a victim, then I get other people to fix me, right? So if I show up and I'm demonstrating that there's something missing in me and that in some way I'm incomplete, well, you're just denying your magnitude as the Christ. That's what you're doing. And that's not pretty. That's not pretty. There's something very wonderful about standing in your power. When you stand in your power as love light, you're acknowledging, you're present, you're warm, you're friendly. Do you think that a high level being would like turn their back love is all encompassing. It's not aloof. Love is not aloof. Okay. Each would deny his power. For the separate union excludes the universe. Far more is left outside than would be taken in, for God is left without and nothing taken in. And, the ego tells you, oh, this is something so wonderful. You're completely devouring that other person. They're like, oh, they're your sustenance. They're your everything. Your kids are your everything. Your wife is your everything. Your husband is your everything. And I'm not saying like you don't, you're not grateful or any of that. But you know what I'm talking about? When you are like just saturated in this delusion of this person is my everything, they complete. Where's God in that? Where is God in that? There's nothing detached in that. Right? All right. If one such union were made in perfect faith, the universe would enter into it, and that would become a holy relationship. Yet the special relationship the ego seeks does not include even one whole individual. See, a special relationship is formed because you see something in that other person that you need. They see something in you that they need. That's what this is saying. Yet the special relationship the ego seeks does not include even one whole individual. The ego wants but part of him. I just want the good stuff. The rest of it, get lost. And the rest of it is your guilt that you've projected onto them. So it's really tricky, right? You meet someone, it's like, oh my God, she's so beautiful. I just have to have her. She's my everything. Don't show me the bad parts, though. Or, oh, he's so handsome and he's rich too. Oh, I need him. Oh, that's just wonderful. Let me have a fairy tale. But I don't want to know anything else about him. And then you get married, and what happens after a while? You start to see the poo-poo. Right? And then you're mad at it because you were delusional. You went for you bit the bait of beauty. You bit the bait of money. You bit the bait of there's somebody that I'm not. You bit the bait of whatever. You gave all your power here. Yes. And then that person starts to, reveal your unconscious guilt. And instead of you owning it, going, oh, gee, I attracted this person into my life because now they're showing me my own self-hatred. Yikes. Now you try to twist them, turn them, rub them, pull their hair, turn them into a pretzel, get them to be what you want them to be so you can love them. Have you ever done that? That's called, they're the problem. And if I could just fix them, if I could just make them be a little bit different, I'll be happy. Special relationship. The ego wants part of that person, the love, the beauty, the money, the good stuff, but it doesn't want anything else. It only sees that the beauty and the things it wants, and it doesn't see anything else. Across the bridge, it is so different. For a time, the body is still seen, but not exclusively as it is seen here. So when you're in the world of nothingness, the ego's domain, all you see is bodies. You don't see the great rays. You don't see the Christ light in the heart, yours or theirs. You only see bodies. And you're only identified with form. And if the form acts good, that's cool. If the form doesn't act good, that's not good. And then you spend your days trying to manipulate the form, which is your projection of your own guilt. Okay, the little spark that holds the great... Oh, where was I? Okay, across the bridge. All right. The little spark that holds the great rays within it is also visible, but the spark cannot be limited long to littleness. Wow. And those great rays refer to the light of Christ that is our true self. Once you have crossed the bridge, the value of the body is so diminished in your sight, you will see no need at all to magnify it. So because now you've decided, I want my mind healed and I want to think healthy thoughts with the spirit, when someone acts out in front of me, I recognize it as a call for love. I see it as something different from how I used to see it when I was part of the ego's thought system. So the body is so diminished in your sight that you will see no need at all to magnify it. For you will realize that the only value the body has is to enable you to bring your brothers to the bridge with you and to be released together there. Wow. So you're asking the Holy Spirit to shift the body's purpose. The body's purpose then becomes like a communication device, whereby you see that minds are joined, bodies are not. You begin to recognize that these horrific thoughts in your mind that are ego thoughts and attack thoughts that you've projected out because you're so identified with the ego's thought system as a body, that's the whole problem. And now you're choosing something different. You're choosing to have the Holy Spirit guide your steps. The bridge itself is nothing more than a transition in the perspective of reality. On this side, everything you see is grossly distorted. So in the world of the ego, everything is grossly distorted and completely out of perspective because it's an insane world coming from an insane thought system. What is little and insignificant is magnified. And can you see that in your daily life? You know, that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff? Everything in this world that you are so wrapped up in is insignificant. It's little and insignificant, but you magnify it. And what is strong and powerful is cut down to littleness. So people that are loving and forgiving, they go be like, oh, look at them over there. They think they're so good. Right? Oh, look at her claiming health. Like, what? Yeah, right. Look at her. Like, we cut things down to nothingness because we are asleep to the Christ and the great rays within our own heart. We cut everything down. It's insane. In the transition, there is a period of confusion in which a sense of actual disorientation may occur. So this is about, forgiveness. And there is a confusion at first. It's like, was it them that did, like, is it them? Should I be mad at that? Like, what's going on here? And you're trying to figure out how you're getting what you're getting by thinking from a victim consciousness. That it wasn't my fault, and oh my God, I didn't do it. It wasn't my fault. You're still thinking like a victim. But when you wake up and you say to the Spirit, I'm reaching out, take my hand, guide me across the bridge because I want to see this differently, then you are going to realize that you need to forgive these attack thoughts, and you need to forgive yourself for believing that you're actually outside of love, and that this person that you're with in this relationship can never fulfill you in the way that God can fulfill you. And when you get right with your God self and you fill your own cup, then the relationship takes a shift. Because from that place of love, you'll be able to hold space for that other person as they are coming out of their delusion. And that's just a beautiful thing. And that's what Jesus is talking about here. You made the world of bodies, and you made the world of seemingly separate bodies because you yourself feel guilty. There's guilt and self-hatred and the fear of punishment and the sin, and all this world is doing is reflecting it all back to you, including your significant other or your kids or the people closest to you. And really, when you think about it, the people closest to you, especially like families, they're the ones that push your buttons the most. Because you're with them 24/7, right? They really can push your buttons. But Jesus says, fear not. Because it means that you have been willing to let go your hold on the distorted frame of reference that seemed to hold your world together. In other words, you're now saying, I don't want this anymore. I see no value in looking outside of myself for someone to make me happy, for somebody to make me feel better about myself. There is no value in that anymore. I'm done. This frame of reference is built around the special relationship. Without this illusion, there could be no meaning you would still seek here. Fear not that you will be abruptly lifted up and hurled into reality. I think people are afraid, like, if I really say to God, okay, I'm done with this, thinking that I need this or I need that, or I'm done with the ego's thought system, I really want to see a different world. We are afraid that God, whatever that is to you, is going to take away the life that you have. Where if that's what Jesus means here, fear not that you will be abruptly lifted up and hurled into reality, okay? And that's not going to happen. But you know what is going to happen? You're not going to have any more fear. You're not going to have any more anxiety. You're not going to have any more stress. You're not going to, feel any more depression. All of that is going to disappear. It's not like you're going to be hurled off the planet. All of these emotions of depression and anxiety, all of that's going to be taken away. So don't you want to go for that? Oh my goodness. Time is kind, and if you use it on behalf of reality. So use whatever is happening in your life on behalf of reality. In other words, I'm going to give everything that I think and think I am to the Spirit. And I'm going to ask for the correction of my mind. And when you use time on behalf of reality, it'll keep you gentle. It will keep a gentle pace with you in your transition. So we just, every time something comes up, to have the awareness of the thoughts in the mind, and then to say to the Spirit, I turn this over to you. Jesus, it's such, gentleness, to be gentle with yourself, to have infinite patience with yourself. Can you imagine lifetimes of stinking thinking, lifetimes of guilt that is pushed down into the unconscious? We need to be gentle. We need to be kind to ourselves and work with the Spirit and come to know that, you are in eternity right now. You are not destroyed. You already are saved. And that, yes, you said yes to God because you are the beloved of God. The urgency is only in dislodging your mind from its fixed position here. That's the urgency. You're dug in. And you're dug in because of your beliefs. Because of your beliefs. Take a look, and that is why you can't, you've got to know what you believe in order to undo those beliefs. Not what you think you believe, but what you actually believe by what is showing up. That's what you actually believe. Okay, so Jesus says the urgency is only in dislodging your mind from its fixed position. Yeah. This will not leave you homeless and without a frame of reference. The period of disorientation, which precedes the actual transition, is far shorter than the time it took to fix your mind so firmly on illusions. It took lifetimes to fix your mind on these illusions. But the transition back into heaven can happen in the twinkling of an eye. Delay will hurt you now more than before, only because you realize it is delay. So ask yourself, how am I delaying myself from feeling peaceful? How am I delaying myself? In what ways? What do I do to distract? What am I doing that distracts me and keeps me in this world of illusion, in this fixed position, when I can actually escape from this world, from this pain? It's possible for me to do that. What is it that's keeping you here? It's like your defensiveness. You're defending a belief. You're defending a belief. And that's why, when you get sick, I'll use that again. When you get sick, you can be snarly and feel angry and feel helpless and feel victimized and feel like your body has failed you. You can feel all of these negative feelings. And in order to be real, to feel like I'm a real person, we keep a fixed position that sickness is real. Sickness is real, and I want sickness to be real so I can be right about who I say I am. I want to be right. Remember, the ego always has to win. It has to be right. So we get this fixed position in life, and that fixed position is based on a belief. And you want to be right, and you delay happiness, you delay abundance, you delay health, you delay peace because of wanting to be right about a belief. And that's deep. That's very deep. Okay? All right. Find hope and comfort rather than despair in this. You could not long find even the illusion of love in any special relationship here. It's not going to last. For you are no longer wholly insane, and you would soon recognize the guilt of self-betrayal for what it is. So you're going to start owning your stuff. Instead of projecting it onto someone else, you're going to recognize that this person, you could only have this person in your space because that's all the guilt and everything that you're holding in your consciousness, and you've attracted them to you to show you what you're holding. So instead of blaming them, instead of attacking them, instead of making them wrong, everything they say to you, you're saying to yourself. Everything they're doing, you're doing to yourself. Everything, whatever way they're showing up is how you're showing up or judging how they're showing up. It's just how it is, right? So Jesus says, for you are no longer wholly insane, and you would soon recognize the guilt of self-betrayal for what it is. You've betrayed your real self. To stand in your Christ self and say, I am claiming everything that God says I am. And this person is acting this way because I've decided that I am so filled with self-hatred, I need someone else to take that self-hatred on. I need someone else to take that guilt on so I can be free of it. That's what's really going on. Nothing you seek to strengthen in the special relationship is really part of you. And you cannot keep part of the thought system that taught you it was real and understand the thought that knows what you are. So you're either all the way into the thought system that knows what you are my beloved, or you're all the way in the ego's thought system. You can't just have a little bit of the ego's thought system and then hold a little bit of God. You're either all the way in or you're nowhere. You have allowed the thought of your reality to enter your mind, and because you invited it in, it will abide with you. Your love for it will not allow you to betray yourself, and you could not enter into a relationship where it could not go with you. For you would not want to be apart from it. So be glad today that you have escaped the mockery of salvation the ego offered you. And what is the ego offers you salvation in an unreal world. This woman that I marry is going to save me from myself. This man that I marry is going to save me from myself. My kids are going to save me from myself. My nephews and nieces are going to save me from myself. My colleague, my boss, they are all going to save me from yourself. Not going to happen. That's the salvation that the ego offers you in the insane world. But you're not going to look back with longing on the travesty it made of your relationships, because all it did was cause power struggles and conflicts within the relationship. Once you own it, once you show up and say, I am responsible, not from a place of like, oh my God, I'm such a bad person, I'm responsible for all this, oh God, well, that's just another ego attack. No, you're going to show up and your state of being is responsible. That's a different thing. My very beingness is responsible. Think about that. If you say, well, it's my responsibility, there's an arrogance in that. There's a self-attack in that. But when you say, I'm going to show up, my way of being is responsible, it's different. Now, no one needs suffer, for you have come too far to yield to the illusion of the beauty and holiness of guilt. Only the wholly insane could look on death and suffering, sickness and despair, and see it thus. What guilt has wrought, is ugly, fearful, and very dangerous. Unconscious guilt held in the mind is what we're seeing in the world today. It's dangerous, it's sick, it's ugly. And that is the collective unconscious guilt that's been projected onto the screen. It's ugly. It's dangerous. See no illusion of truth and beauty there. And be you thankful that there is a place where truth and beauty wait for you. Go on to meet them gladly and learn how much awaits you for the simple willingness to give up nothing. You're giving up nothing because it is nothing. It is the ego that made the world as an attack on God. It is a no thing. It exists because you believe in the ego and then you want to make it. It's like, I want to be right about what I made up. And so you're going to defend your sickness. You're going to defend your lack of money. You're going to blame. When you defend, you're attacked. And you're going to blame the world for your circumstances. But when you walk across the bridge with the Holy Spirit, your way of being is responsible. Very different. The new perspective you will gain from crossing over will be the understanding of where heaven is. From this side, it seems to be outside and across the bridge. Yet as you cross to join it, it will join with you and become one with you. And you will think in glad astonishment that for all this, You gave up nothing. There was no sacrifice. There is no sacrifice in love because you gain everything when you give up nothing. The joy of heaven, which has no limit, is increased with each light that returns to take its rightful place within it. Wait no longer for the love of God and you. And may the holy instant speed you on the way, as it will surely do if you but let it come to you. The Holy Spirit asks only this little help of you. Whenever your thoughts wander to a special relationship which still attracts you, enter with her into a holy instant and let her release you. She needs only your willingness to share her perspective, to give it to you completely. And your willingness need not be complete because hers is perfect. It is her task to atone for your unwillingness by her perfect faith. She holds truth for you. The Holy Spirit knows that you are the image and likeness of God. She holds this truth for you. And it is in her faith you share with her there. Out of your recognition of your unwillingness for your release, her perfect willingness is given you. She's always there with love and light. Her love abounds. Her grace is with you. Call upon her, for heaven is at her call. And let her call on heaven for you. And that's like saying, I don't know how to do this. I want to see this differently. My life feels like it's such a mess. I'm so afraid because I'm so broke. You are then saying to the Holy Mother, can you go to the Father for me? Can you go to the Father for me? Let her call on heaven for you. That's so beautiful. And as we get closer to Christmas, I'll talk more about Mother Mary, the divine mother who conceived of the Son of God. And it's such a beautiful message. But that's, yeah, she will do your bidding. You call to the Holy Spirit. So that's just beautiful, that chapter. I'd like to end with this, that we have the New Year retreat coming up, which I'm so excited about. We haven't been together here for a New Year retreat in 3 years. Is it 3 years? Yeah. So, we start on Friday night and we have a full day on Saturday, and we're going to finish probably around 7-ish. And then you get the evening to yourself on Saturday night, which is New Year's Eve, to enjoy Malacca. And then Sunday morning, we will have a breathwork session on the first day of New Year. And I've got lots of surprises and little goodies for everyone. And I just know it's going to be a wonderful time. So if you haven't registered, please do so with Jamie, as you normally do. And something else I wanted to say. Oh, I'll be sending out a letter because there's a few things. For those of you that have already registered, I'm going to send out a letter this week because there's a few things that I need you to bring as part of our New Year retreat that we're going to be using. And don't forget to bring your astrology charts because we're going to touch on that. I am giving away 2 astrology solar chart readings. It's going to be by a draw. So that's going to be lots of fun. And what else? I think that's it. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm wishing you a wonderful day for those of us in Malaysia and a really restful, peaceful night for those of you over there in the West. I hear there's a lot of snow going on in Buffalo, New York. I saw that. Hi, JC. Yeah, a lot of snow, eh? Yeah. Here it's been raining like cats and dogs, and it's rather cool. And it's so amazing when I don't sleep with my air conditioner on. I know, that's rare. But anyway, it was too cold last night. So that was something that I enjoyed. Hi, Michael. Yeah, love to you too. Love to you too. Everything in pure white. How wonderful. That's beautiful. I miss the snow. I miss the snow. I love the snow. But anyway, so with that being said, continue to reach for truth, for the next week, and we'll see you next week for lesson 132. But in the meantime, just know that I love you so much, and I'm ever grateful. Thank you so much for all the donations. It helps to keep, our platform going and to cover some costs and that. So we're really grateful for that. And I'll just say thank you, Charles, so much. And I'll say thank you, Susan. I'll see you guys next week. I'm sending you millions hugs and kisses. Hi, Yvette, like I always do. Yeah. So take good care, and we'll be in touch. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.